Hello, I'm Karma Kitaj. I'm your host for A Livelihood, New Adventures as We Age. Today I'm going to bring you a very interesting woman named Kathie Malley Morrison, and she's going to talk to us about how she came to be very invested in doing a blog about peace. Welcome, Kathie.
Thank you very much, Karma.
Good to have you. So we're going to talk today about how you got to where you are, starting from you're a psychology professor at Boston University, right? And have been for many years.
Many years.
Yeah. And I think you told me that you started out being very interested in family violence, right? So why don't you say a little bit about how you got involved in that?
I actually started out being interested in ordinary families. My feeling was that there was a lot of neglect regarding the young adult years. There was lots of research on adolescence and all the problems with adolescence, and lots of research on aging parents and the role of middle-aged adults and taking care of aging adults, but very little attention to the 20s. When I was about 30, I thought the 20s were a very interesting age, and they seemed to me to be a crucial time for really changing relationships between young adults and their parents and young adults and their peers. These are the ages when people get married, start having children, and it was a neglected era. Well, I got a grant from National Institute of Mental Health to study that young adult transition. And we studied over 400 young adults, mostly in the Boston area. And I was quite amazed at how many of them had been abused as children. So I then got very interested in family violence. I got a postdoctoral fellowship at Children's Hospital with Eli Neuberger. And that sort of converted me forever to the study of violence in relationships, and better relationships, worser relationships. And then for many years, I had a research group at Boston University on family violence, and we published, and we did books, and we presented, and we did that right up until 9/11. And then my group was very international because it was so interesting how much views of what's abusive are not vary around the world. And it was an eye-opener to me to talk to some of my students who thought that Americans are very abusive to their children. We tend to think that, we're the good guys and we figured everything out and we're way ahead of everybody else. But for example, in many countries, the idea that Americans put their babies in a room of their own as young as a few months or even a year, many of them keep their babies in their room until the age of 4, and they see American parents as abusive. Yeah. So I had a very international group of students working with me, trying to sort of sort out what's abusive, what's not abusive. And then 9/11 happened, and basically the whole group said, we shouldn't be focusing just on violence in families. We should be looking at violence at a larger level. Let's try to understand. I mean, how can nations be so quick to go to war?
Yeah.
And the United States doesn't have a very good reputation in terms of attending to other people's borders, for example, and so on. So we started a whole new research project on perspectives on war and peace.
Okay. I know that you're, the task you've set out for yourself with your new blog, which we are going to talk about, is to promote a sense of optimism about world peace. So how do you get from, what you're just talking about to the optimism?
It's very easy to get very pessimistic and discouraged in this country, and I think a lot of people do. I mean, they just hear sort of bad story after bad story. They often feel that they don't have much power. But there are wonderful success stories in the world in terms of people overthrowing bad governments, bad leaders, sometimes peacefully. I mean, and we don't hear those stories in our media. I mean, I think the internet elected Obama. I think a very important role was played by social media, his appeals to the media. I think it shows what the media can do in terms of presenting people with alternatives, helping them to see that you can make a difference. I want to have a lot of stories like that to share with people at every level. I mean, they hear about, you know, Nelson Mandela and the big Lech Walesa, the big famous names, but you know, on the community level, there are a lot of wonderful people who struggle for peace and justice, and they make a difference.
Okay, and we're going to be able to show a very short video about you, and we'll take a moment to do that.
Thank you. Even within psychology, a field devoted to human well-being, we find individuals who not only tolerate forms of governmental aggression, such as invasion and torture, but also argue that these acts of aggression are morally defensible. If psychologists are to be successful social activists on behalf of non-aggression, they need to understand the socio-cognitive mechanisms that allow people to support inhumane behavior while retaining the belief that they are moral human beings. I don't know if this is my color.
Gabriel, where's my good boy? Where's that good boy? Did you go to the ocean? Yes.
My name is Dot Walsh, and I wanted to tell you just a little bit about the Peace Abbey.
Peace is a very elusive term. What does it mean? What does peace look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like?
I fought for something I cannot yet name. That is the truth, and that is the problem.
The reason why 2% of soldiers are never driven insane by war is because they were already insane before they went to war.
So before we stop today, and we only have a few more minutes, Kathie, I just want to make sure that you've told us all that you want to tell us about the purpose of the blog and, what you're talking about in the blog.
Well, I'm still trying to grow my blog. I have 500 subscribers to my newsletter, which comes out once a month and highlights some of the month's stories to the blog.
And how often do you participate in the blog?
We have a post every Monday and every Thursday. And usually on a Tuesday, towards the end of the month, we bring out our newsletter. And really, what I always would like anybody who knows about the blog to do is to go to it and submit comments. The best way for me to grow my blog, try to get funding for my blog, which would really help. Right now, all the expenditures are out of my own pocket because I believe in it. But the way to grow it is to develop an audience, and the best kind of audience is one that is engaged enough to submit comments. So that is my big hope.
Right. And the name of the blog is?
Engaging Peace. And it's engagingpeace.com. If they Google engagingpeace.com or engagingpeace.org, they should be able to get to the blog.
Well, this is such a fascinating topic, and there's so many things so many little detours we could have taken here together. But we're coming to the end of our time, Kathie, and I hope people will go to your blog, engagingpeace.com, because it looks like it's just fascinating.
I hope
and hopeful. That's a good thing to be hopeful about peace, huh?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
thank you very much for inviting me to share my
Thank
my
you.
work.
Thank you for coming, Kathie.
Thank you.